Beep beep. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this thing that we like to call Northern News Now Plus on the Northern News Now Plus app. I'm your host for the duration of the stream here, Matt Rasmussen, morning director slash local filmmaker slash king of Halloween slash host of Movie Mondays with Matt. There's a fun little graphic back there that I put up for you guys. There's going to be a quick one today because I think I might get bumped off the stream here. There's some crazy big news happening on the stream, so I might just get bumped off here. So bear with me in case that happens. But let's get right into the flick of the week, which was Gremlins, the 1984 family horror holiday classic. Gremlins is back on the big screen at the Cinema, the Zeitgeist Duluth Cinema downtown here this week. And so that's why I chose this one along with a slew of other holiday films, which I'm kind of excited about as well. But first, before we get into the nitty-gritty of those things, let's talk about the box office figures from this weekend. I don't have any video to accompany this today. I'm just going to read right off this tiny little sheet here. So number 5 in the box office, Jujutsu Kaisen Execution, slid from 4th to 5th place this weekend with ticket sales of $2.1 million. Then, number 4, It's Not an Illusion, as the threequel Now You See Me, Now You Don't, slid from 5th to 4th place in its 5th weekend in theaters with $2.4 million. Then number 3, Wicked for Good. It held on to 3rd with $8.6 million. Then, number 2, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 fell to 2nd place with $19.5 million. And then lastly, number 1, in its 3rd weekend in theaters, Zootopia 2 rebounded from 2nd place into 1st place now with $26.3 million, bringing its domestic total to $259 million. And on a global box office, that it is now the fastest PG-rated film to reach the $1 billion milestone, doing so in just 17 days. So that is huge. I know people have really been wanting this Zootopia 2 for a while now, and we finally got it, and it sounds like it didn't disappoint because look at the crazy buku numbers it's making. So, wow, good for Disney in general. They're having a good year with little bangers like this. So, we could talk about box office all day, but let's talk about my flick of the week, which is indeed Gremlins. And I chose Gremlins, yes, because it is going to be shown as part of the Cinema Holiday Film Series all this week at the Cinema. So I'll just tell you which ones are playing right out of the gate. So starting Tuesday, you can go out and see Scrooged. That's the, I believe, 1988 or 1989 Bill Murray comedy classic that is a modern-day twist on the Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And next, after that, Gremlins, which will be playing this Thursday, and then into this weekend, Saturday and Sunday as well. So three dates there in case one of those don't match up for you. Next, we have It's a Wonderful Life, which will also be playing this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And then lastly, Die Hard on December 23rd, which is indeed, I mean, some people call it Christmas Eve, but if you celebrate Festivus like I do, it's Festivus. A Festivus for the rest of us, December 23rd, and that'll be a great way to end that holiday run of films with Die Hard. And a lot of people wonder if Die Hard is indeed a Christmas film. I don't see why not. I think one of the big things about it is that Die Hard did not come out during the holiday season, so maybe that's part of it. Nor did Gremlins. And, you know, people like to say that Gremlins isn't exactly a Christmas movie either, and there's some truth to that because Gremlins came out on June 8th, 1984. June. So, yeah, not like leaning into the holiday season or anything. What's notable about June 8th, 1984, that's the day Ghostbusters came out as well. And Ghostbusters was #1 in the box office, and Gremlins was just below that. Same day. What an amazing day in history. I wish I were alive during that day so I could have hit both of them at the same time. That's a day the world will never forget. We may have peaked on that very day. Are there any other dates beyond that are like greater? I don't know. I can't think of any. June 8th, 1984. What a seminal day. So, yeah, Gremlins came out, and Gremlins is huge in the Ghostbusters community as well. Not just because it came out that day, but there's a couple of connections there. And then you can see I'm wearing my Ghostbusters Frozen Empire parka today, the red parka, which kind of resembles what Billy was wearing in, Zach Galligan plays Billy in the 2 Gremlins films. And, you know, there's a scene there where he's got his red parka on, he's got a green backpack, and he's got little Gizmo just kind of poking out of the backpack. That would have been a cute thing to set up today, but I couldn't quite get the whole Gizmo poking out of the backpack thing ready to roll in time today. But you see, there's enough gizmos going on, you can see. So another little connection with Gremlins and Ghostbusters is that as a Ghostbuster, we have like a whole bunch of different like little tools and little pieces of gear and stuff on our belts. And there's one particular instrument that it's just like a mishmash of lights and gadgets and things like that. And it doesn't really do much. It's more just for looks if you're wearing the uniform. But that piece of equipment is called a gizmo. So when you go to Ghostbusters cons and things like that, you see a lot of people walking around with an actual gizmo, a Gremlin Mogwai gizmo strapped to their belt, and it's like a fun little in-joke. Ha ha, it's a gizmo. Got it. You know, that's a cool little connection between the universes as well. And I'd love to see an actual crossover someday between Ghostbusters and Gremlins, but that'll be a little more difficult because they're owned by 2 different studios. You have Sony, you have Warner Brothers, you know, and they haven't worked too well together in the past, so I would have to be a fan collab at this point, which I might have to step up to the plate and do some year. So that would be a fun thing to put together. Anyway, let's recap the franchise a little bit. I'm kind of flying all over the place here today. Let's start with where it all began. Gremlins, 1984. Amazing movie. I rewatched Gremlins 1 and 2 last night because I hadn't watched them in a little bit. And, you know, Gremlins is still a really fun movie. And, I don't know, it's great. It takes place around the holiday season. And one argument for why maybe it is a Christmas movie is because the fact that Christmas is coming up is a plot device that kickstarts the whole story. Because Billy's dad is out there looking for a Christmas present for him, and he happens across this silly little antique shop that happens to have Gizmo in it, and he's able to buy a Gizmo from the owner and then bring him home, and then everything crazy happens from there. So, you know, and they use a lot of Christmas music, and there's a scene where there's the gremlin in the Christmas tree and his eyes are glowing up, and, you know, there's a lot of Christmas imagery in it, so I can see arguments either way. Anyway, Gremlins is great. I didn't catch Gremlins until after I caught Gremlins 2 as a kid. So I love Gremlins deeply. I love Gremlins 2 more. And, you know, there are definitely feelings about Gremlins 2 in the community. Gremlins 2 is a silly sequel. It just goes full on Looney Tunes. You know, you may remember the infamous Key and Peele bit where Key and Peele are like, oh, everyone gets to design a gremlin. It's the screenwriting room of Gremlins 2. And it seemed like maybe that was kind of their idea, was like everyone gets to come up with a gremlin. There's a spider gremlin, there's a bat gremlin, there's a vegetable gremlin, there's an electricity gremlin, there's all these crazy gremlins going on. And that's a lot of the fun of that movie, because they want to take the logic out of it, is the whole thing. They want to take the logic out of it and just tell you to have fun with this new premise. And that's what it totally is. It's crazy. It's bonkers. It's way more insane than the original. It's a sequel that just doubles down on the absurdity of what this premise is. Gremlins 2 came out in 1990, by the way. So I first caught it as a kid, probably in 1991 when it came out on home video. And then, to me, that was Gremlins. I didn't know that there was a prior Gremlins movie. Here we go. Here's a quick little visual here. Here's Gremlins 1 and 2 and the Goonies on Blu-ray. I picked this up a while ago. It was like super cheap. But like here's the whole Gremlins collection up until now. Then finally when I found out that there was a Gremlins 1, because I wasn't privy to like, franchises and sequels and things like that. Like I didn't quite grasp that concept yet at like 6. So watched Gremlins 2, and then there's another Gremlins movie. Okay, and then we watched part 1, which is way more tame, way more mild than Gremlins 2. So it was strange for me to see that and be like, what is this? Like this is not, where's Greta? Where's the smart gremlin? Where's all those things that I know and love from that particular Gremlins movie? So both are amazing in their own right. I just love the absurdity of part 2. I'll always like Gremlins 2 a lot more for many of those reasons. And some people like, oh, it's too absurd, but where else can you go with a crazy franchise about like little monsters that turn into even crazier little monsters? You have to lean into the absurdity, especially if they're going to go through all the trouble to make these things. So both Gremlins films are amazing, and you can hit them both in one night. And that's how it was for the longest time. It was just Gremlins 1 and 2. And there's always been rumblings and hubbub of a potential Gremlins 3. For a while there, I kind of gave up hope that it was ever going to happen. But as of this year, they have officially announced that it's happening. Warner Brothers has. I guess it's a priority for them. And that's strengthened by the fact that there's the television series that came out in 2023. I guess it's doing all right. It's run for 2 seasons now. The first season was called The Mogwai, The Gift of the Mogwai, The Secrets of the Mogwai. And, I haven't gotten to see that show yet, but I'm definitely wanting to. That's the only other piece of the franchise that there is, apart from the first 2 movies. And then, and then there's your standard tie-in things. There's your video games and, things like that. But this television series was really the first new Gremlins thing we got in like 30-some years. So that was kind of cool to see that we got that. Secrets of the Mogwai, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the title there. And so, yeah, I'm trying to seek it out. I would like to watch it, especially before Gremlins 3. I know they can do a good job with Gremlins 3. I know they can, especially if they don't lean into AI and CGI and keep it practical like the first 2 movies. And from what everyone's been saying up to this point, that is the plan, to keep faithful to the originals. And that's how we know it's in a good place. And I'd like to have Joe Dante come back as well and direct. I'm sure he still has the energy to do it. And then bring back Zach Galligan, Phoebe Cates. It would be good to see them return. I'd like to see Howie Mandel come back. I don't know if some of you know, Howie Mandel is the voice of Gizmo. Just a cute little Mogwai, Mogwai, and how he sings and stuff. That's Mr. Deal or No Deal himself. How crazy is that? So that would be cool to see, just to keep it more authentic. I guess he doesn't come back for the animated series, from what I understand. So, yeah. What else is there to say about Gremlins? I'm excited about part 3, but here's a little concern that I have. This whole bid to buy Warner Brothers right now, there's like Paramount wants it and Netflix wants it, and it's getting pretty dirty behind the scenes with the different, I'll throw a few billion at the studio, no, I'll throw a few billion at the studio, and those Netflix and Paramount are fighting over ownership of Warner Brothers, and you know, this could be good or bad. Who's to say that one of them doesn't just clear the slate of what's supposed to come, because Gremlins 3 is in the earliest stages of development right now. It's in the scripting stages, maybe a little beyond that. They do have a release date set for 2027, but who is to say whoever the new owners are don't just say, nope, clearing whatever you guys had planned, we don't want it. That would be horrifying to me. I need this Gremlins 3. Little 6-year-old Matt needs Gremlins 3. I've always wanted, it's one of my most highly anticipated sequels. Next to, like, growing up, I always wanted Ghostbusters 3, and that took like 30-some years to finally happen. So I know they can do a good job with Gremlins 3. We just have to be patient, and hopefully this merger, this bid, all that stuff doesn't mess things up for the future of Gremlins. Although, you know, that's a concern, but it could be a good thing as well with whoever wins the rights here. Another thing I thought about a lot with a new studio buying Warner Brothers is all these Warner Brothers franchises that have just been sitting there dormant for years, and we've desperately wanted, you know, new installments. Who's to say they don't go the Disney route and just start saying, all right, new installments of everything? That would be exciting to me. I'm a sucker for franchises, and the big one that matters most to me is Trick or Treat. If they're able to get Trick or Treat 2 off the ground finally, because I know Michael Dougherty, he's written it, he's had it just sitting there for years. They announced Trick or Treat 2 back in 2013. They even had a logo for it, and it's just been sitting there, and it's because Warner Brothers refuses to move forward with it for whatever reason. They know it's going to be a gold mine because they merchandise that property like nothing else that they have when it comes to spooky season. It's one of their top merchandising pieces that they have out there is Trick or Treat. You see Sam everywhere. Sam is the face of Halloween now at this point. So it's kind of insane to me that they still haven't moved forward on Trick or Treat 2. And I'd like to see more Trick or Treats because I know that that's a franchise that could benefit from multiple installments and multiple, you know, there are many Halloweens that have taken place throughout history. I'd like to see as many as we can. So, Trick or Treat, hopefully that moves forward. This, you know, this merger could be good or bad for that. Same with things like Beetlejuice. I know that Warner Brothers really wanted Beetlejuice 3 to be a priority, but doesn't sound like Tim Burton's interested in doing it. You know, he's still kind of fresh off the second one, so give him time. Maybe he'll get nostalgic for it again and come up with some good ideas. Michael Keaton is still doing pretty well. If you saw him in Beetlejuice 2, he's spry as he's ever been. He's still got the energy, so let's not wait too long if they're going to do Beetlejuice 3. But, you know, again, this could lead to something. More properties, Nightmare on Elm Street. Huge one. It's just, I wore my Friday sweater today, kind of in thinking about Warner Brothers and those properties. We need a new Freddy movie, bad. That has just been sitting there since 2010. They haven't done anything with it. And I know there was a little bit of legal behind the scenes. A lot of those properties have that. But they figured it out a long time ago. And they're just not moving forward with a Freddy-related thing. We need Freddy. And Robert Englund is still alive. And he has always expressed interest in being involved in anything moving forward. Whether he's Freddy Krueger or not, it would just be great to have him involved out of respect for the franchise and respect for him, the guy who built the franchise with his burned face. So it would be great to see that. He was also talking about maybe doing an animated series, and I could see that. If Robert Englund returns to voice an animated Freddy, yeah, I'm all on board for that. So those are some big properties I'd like to see actually move forward. And then there was a lot of talk with this Snyderverse stuff, and maybe that some of those things could move forward because there are always extra cuts of things that have never been released. Here's a big one, actually. Batgirl. That movie was infamously shelved. They finished it, they were editing it, and then Warner Brothers just shelved the movie, and it's never seen the light of day. It exists, all that footage exists. They specifically can't release it for whatever reason, contractual things, so maybe this merger will help that. I think, out of respect to the people that put in so much time and work into that property, including Brendan Fraser, who's in it, and Michael Keaton is in it as Batman, let's see that. Let's see that actually come out. So maybe, maybe that'll entice somebody to release that as well. So those are my thoughts and concerns about the Warner Brothers bid / merger / whatever it winds up becoming, whether it's Netflix, whether it's Paramount. I also have a theory that if Netflix wins, this could be bad for theaters, because Netflix isn't about theaters. They don't care about that. They care about streaming. They care about how quickly can you stream this content that they're making. And they did say right away, we're going to narrow the release window on things if we win. And so that's bad for theaters. So low-key, I would rather see Paramount win because they've always been a studio. They know that whole situation, and they probably, they have loyalties to that. So, I just hope that it works out well for everyone involved, whatever happens with the Warner Brothers thing. So, I think that may be it for my little Warner Brothers rant there. And I had some other cool stuff I wanted to show you. I'll do a little weekend recap and pictures and stuff. But we'll save some of that for another time. I do believe that is my Gremlins recap for one and all. Once again, all these amazing classic films playing at the cinema starting this week. I'll just quickly recap those for you. Starting on Tuesday, Scrooged, the Bill Murray movie. And then Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday is Gremlins. And then Saturday and Sunday also is It's a Wonderful Life. And then lastly, on the 23rd, which is Festivus, Die Hard. All those at the cinema. And they had Muppet Christmas Carol the other week, and I went to see that. That was cool. That was also part of their little lineup. And I can tease ahead to next week a little bit. There's another film that's playing at the cinema that I already saw, actually, and I'm excited to talk about that next week. It is a Christmas movie, and it is a horror movie as well. It'll be my first actual Christmas scary film that I'll be talking about for my Flick of the Week here. So, excited for that. Please stay tuned. We'll get more into that next week. And that is this episode for this week. So, thank you for tuning in here. And until next time, stay spooky, my friends.